Hey guys, I'm Dr. David at Voyage Chiropractic, and my wife and I, Farron, started Voyage Chiropractic back in 2016. Our mission here really is to help families avoid drugs and surgery and really just be able to thrive and heal from the inside out. But first, let me bring you back and tell you more of my story and even how we got to opening Voyage and this journey that we're on. So when I was in undergraduate, I went to Auburn University, and I had several sports injuries kind of growing up here and there. I played, all the sports: football, baseball, basketball. You would take tumbles and get sore and just kind of have a stiff back or different areas that most people just kind of chalk up as being normal. Nothing major, but when I went to Auburn, I was a personal trainer there, and one day I was with a trainer, or with one of my trainees, and we had just wrapped up a session, and I had about 10 minutes in between clients. I was going to clean up the gym and just kind of putting some weights back on the weight trees, and I just twisted a little funny, and I'd had some back issues before, but nothing ever that I felt was too serious. But this time was unlike any others. I had pain shooting down my leg, so I immediately text one of my friends. I was a trainer as well. Asked him if he could cover my shift. I need to go home and relax. And I did what I would always do whenever I had some type of like pain or issue. I would pop in ibuprofen, drink a Gatorade, go take a nap, and or go to bed, and hopefully you wake up the next morning and you're good to go. So I did that, and took it easy the rest of the night, took some ibuprofen, went to bed, woke up the next morning, I could hardly walk. So I immediately knew something was not right. We have a problem. So I knew I was not going to be able to make it to class. Auburn is a very walking friendly campus, so you have to park and walk a good distance. So I went to the campus clinic that they had there for students, and went in, one, to get an excused absence, and then two, also just to see what was going on. And I told him what happened, and I was like, something's not right. I broke something, pulled something, uh, you know, slipped a disc possibly. I don't know. So they took some X-rays, did a little quick workup. They said, "Yeah, no, you're good. Nothing. You just tweaked your back. Here's some muscle relaxers, and here's some pain pills." So went home, kind of relieved. I was like, all right, this is going to pass. Everything's fine. We'll take some ibuprofen, take the pain medication, take the muscle relaxers, and it would take the edge off and help, for a couple of hours. But it would always wear off, come right back, and then you're right back in the same situation. So I was having a very difficult time getting to class, work, exercise. I was very and still am very into health, and it was starting to affect my quality of life. So whenever I ran out all of my medications, I went back to ask the doctor again, "Is are we sure we didn't miss anything? I thought I'd be better a month later." And they assured me that everything was fine. We either just needed to up the strength of the medication or look at doing some injections. I was at the time 20 years old. Uh, Neither one of those was an option. I did not want to get hooked on meds. I didn't want to take shots, but also I needed something had to give. So I went to a chiropractor. That was my first time going to a chiropractor. Did not know there was different types. Didn't know there's different techniques. I just looked at the closest one to me that had a deal going on, and so I went to a clinic, told them what happened. They said, "All right, go into this room. The doc will see you. Just a moment." He came in, said, "What happened?" I told him. He's like, "Okay, lay down." Never been to a chiropractor. So I laid down. He adjusted me a couple times. He said, "Come back a couple times this week. We'll see how you're doing, and may need to see you next week." I was like, "Okay." And so I got adjusted. I wasn't a fan of the manual adjustments, but I felt a little better. Came back the next day, felt even better. And then I just, after about 2 weeks of seeing him, I was back to functioning. I wasn't 100%, but I was over 85, 90% better. So I was sold, quit taking the meds, quit going. I just knew I was doing a lot better. Still a little stiff and sore, but I could walk, I could exercise, I could move. It was amazing. I had no clue what just happened, but I knew that something happened with those adjustments, and now my back pain was doing way better. So fast forward, I was pre-med, wanted to be a cardiologist. Had a family friend that was one. I thought that would be an interesting field to go into. I was interested in cardiovascular system. I had to do an internship, finishing up undergrad before I went into med school, and just did not have the greatest experience. There was nothing with the actual facilities or the hospital. Everything was fine and going as normal. I just did not like that it was the end of a lot of people's healthcare journey. And I just, with a background in training, I quickly realized that I did not want to be on that side of healthcare, that I wanted to be on the preventative end and get people well and then keep them well, keep them healthy. So I started looking into different forms of alternative care or holistic care. And the first thing that popped into my mind was, hey, I had a great experience with a chiropractor. Don't really know what happened. I know he helped me out. And so I started doing my research, toured around a couple of chiropractic schools, fell in love with one in Atlanta, Georgia called Life University, applied, got in, and I started, finished school. Let's see, that was 2010, undergrad, started chiropractic school next year in 2011. And it was great. It was completely foreign. I had no real concept of what chiropractic was. I knew it helped me, but it was drinking through a fire hose. All the information. I wasn't very holistic. I didn't eat horrible, but I was not into organic foods, and um, I didn't have anything against medication. I just didn't like taking them because the way it kind of hurt my stomach, made me feel it just wasn't 100%. So it was a whole different mindset shift as I learned about how the body actually works and how it functions and how it's designed on a microscopic level. And so fast forward on a little bit, as obviously as I'm in chiropractic school, I'm overall, moving pretty good. Still have like a little bit of a stiff sore back, just tension in the neck, headaches, that sort of thing, things that most people chalk up as normal. And so I started getting under chiropractic care. Went to a guy, his name was Dr. Bobby Braille in Atlanta. He's an older doc, been around for a long time, had a great reputation. And he explained to me about feeling versus function. We want to keep your body functioning well, not just treat a symptom. So that was the first time I ever saw my x-rays too. Found out that I had a straight neck with arthritis at C5. My pelvis was rotated. I had some curves in my spine, and it all made sense. So we started working on it, and we started, getting my hips aligned, straightening out my neck, getting everything in the right position. And obviously, the first thing that I noticed, and the first thing we see with our patients all the time, is that I started just feeling better symptomatically, things that you're aware of. So low back pain, tension in the hips, tension in the low back, that was getting a whole lot better. Neck was doing a lot better. Headaches were gone, and I just, this was great. I was able to train harder, really change my diet, started eating right, cut out soft drinks. It was just all these things that we know is good for you, but overall cumulative effects on health. The more healthy outcomes you make, the better results you're going to get. So, what was really cool, about 6 months after I began care, I had always had digestive issues, or nothing serious, just a real sensitive stomach. I really had to watch what I eat because there are certain things that my stomach would just be in knots if I ate that. And that started going away. I would eat things that I kind of knew I was going to pay the price for, but it really didn't bother me. Another thing is, I grew up on a farm in Alabama, so I just thought that living on a farm, I was going to always have horrible allergies. My allergies started getting better, and as I progressed in school and learned more about the nervous system and how it functions, feel versus function, it all started to click that my body was obviously initially feeling better, but it was starting to function better it just completely changed how I wanted to practice, and I wanted to be able to share these results with patients. Um, so just what we know through science is that your brain controls and coordinates every single organ, every single cell, every single tissue, every single function in your body, and it does so through the spinal cord and out through the nerves. So what happens is you have your brain sitting up here. That's the master command center of the body. And then you have a spinal cord that comes off the brain, goes all the way down to the very bottom bone called your sacrum. And then in between every single vertebrae, you have a pair of nerves that branches out of the spine, and they go to control and coordinate different areas. So top of the neck, C1, upper cervical spine, that's where the nerves are going straight to your sinuses, your pituitary gland, your inner middle ear. Middle to lower neck, that's going to be thyroid, esophagus, trachea, top of the lungs. And then we have mid back, that's going to be the organs in your chest. So lungs, heart, and then down here in your low back is going to be colon, urinary system, reproductive system, and then the legs and feet. So two of the main things that come into our office that we see all the time is going to be neck pain and back pain. That's what people are typically associating with a chiropractor. But we also see a lot of people with digestive issues, reproductive issues, or at an all-time high infertility. That when people come into our office and they see that they obviously come in because they're not feeling better, and we're able to correct these issues, and then their body's able to start functioning better. See, the amazing thing about our bodies is they're designed to um, compensate for all sorts of stress, outside noise, day-to-day stress, life stress, relational things that we're putting in our body that's not the greatest. Foods, medications, vaccines, things like that, and then just the stress from relationships and work. And we can put so much on our body, and it's so resilient, but at certain times that can start to affect your nervous system. So one of the things we do is when people come into our office, we do a very detailed health history. We look at what they have going on as far as pain, obviously headaches, neck pain, back pain, numbness and tingling, just the main drivers that bring people into our office. But more importantly, we ask functional questions. What are other things they're seeing in their health that could be better? And as we progress through care, we're able to see that as these patients are feeling better and moving better, they're actually starting to function better. And what we know about the nervous system is when you look at an actual nerve root, only 5 to 10% of that nerve is sensory, is things that you're aware of, things that you feel, uh, pain, numbness, tingling, pressure, hot, cold, temperature. So that leaves the whole other 90%, which is function. So, a good question to ask is, why would you base 100% of your health on 5% of your nervous system? So we're in a very reactive healthcare system. We spend the most money on our healthcare by far, but we make up 5 to 6% of the world's population, but we consume over 70% of the manufactured pharmaceuticals in the world, and we're 35th on longevity of life in the world. The U.S. is 35th, which is on average how long does your citizens live to be. So we're spending the most money, consuming the most drugs, making up a small population, and getting bad results. So that tells us a couple things. One, money cannot buy your health. And so if that was the case, there are a lot of people that would still be with us that had a lot of money. Steve Jobs, I mean, one of the smartest, one of the richest men, is not with us anymore. But it's a mindset that our healthcare has adopted, that you base everything on your health just on how you feel, and it's never on function alone. So that's what we focus on in our office, and what our mission is to get them well, get whatever they have corrected with their spine, so that their body can function and thrive the way that God designed it to. And that's just our passion. That's what we're really looking to achieve in Jacksonville. Is we want Jacksonville to be a healthy place that is not dependent on medications and hospitals and pharmaceuticals, and that they're addressing the root control of their health concerns so that their body can heal from the inside out.